Hello everyone, this is Carrie, the artist who creates Skeriosities art dolls. Today's video is the last of a three-part series where I'm walking through the dolls that I made for my spring collection 2017. And these dolls were made with a monster theme because I made them particularly for a monster or horror convention. The first doll is this voodoo priestess, or I guess she's kind of a witch doctor, and I made her using a Mona Decay Monster High doll. I really loved working with this doll, and I definitely want to again. As you can see here, I made a couple of extra, actually I made about a few extra voodoo dolls like the one that I gave her, but just in a larger size. And I had made a voodoo priestess or witch doctor a few years ago and just always wanted to do another one. So this one, I just kind of played it by ear. I didn't really start with a plan, but I'm really happy with how she turned out because I ended up doing this black and white theme. The hat, I used some of like faux leather or vinyl. You can't really tell here, but it has like a sort of a square kind of texture pattern to it. I used some velvet ribbon for the rim and some felt for the top of the hat. And then I just added a little skull embellishment with some ribbon. Her hair was the gray alpaca yarn, and I just left it with the kind of natural wave it came with and brushed it out a little bit to thin it out. And I gave her, the skull look for the face. I actually gave her a standard face up, and then when I was done, I just was a little nervous to get started. I knew I wanted to do this, but I was a little nervous I was afraid it was going to ruin the face up that I did, but I'm happy with it. So I made her a little vest out of some striped fabric and a little corset and shorts out of the same vinyl that I used for the hat. Then I gave her some little thigh-high tights that I made with, actually out of a wig cap, and just painted some Monster High shoes. And I'm just pointing out some of the embellishments at the hat there. And I also gave her some little like fingerless gloves. The little voodoo doll is attached with like a charm clasp or a lobster clasp. And here's just a little better look at her face. Like I said, I just didn't know until the last minute whether I was really going to do that to her face or not, but I'm glad I braved my way through it. So this next one is a Goleta from Monster High repaint. And I kind of carried out the theme of the striped pattern throughout some of the dolls in the collection. I rerouted her hair with this aqua alpaca, which is one of my favorite colors. And then I did a face up with the sort of Day of the Dead look. Of course, I did some, I don't know if this is called French braid or Dutch braid, but of course I braided her hair, parted it down the center. Her top is made with some lace that my sister actually brought me back from Belgium. She gave me a few pieces of lace from over there that I've been wanting to use, and I really liked the way that it was shaped to use a sort of a shrug for over this corset. Then I really wanted to do a little see-through panel to sort of be able to look through it to see her, the backbone, I guess, is what you're seeing there, and rib cage. So through the front of the corset, you can see through to her, the center of her body, and it looks kind of neat to me. And then the pants were just made with that striped fabric, and I just made them look like trousers. Just wanted to do something different for the outfit. And then I gave her some platform Monster High like shoes that I repainted. And here's a closer look at the see-through part of the corset. I used some polymer clay that I used like a mold, and then I painted it and used some like turquoise and paint. You can't quite see it here very well, but just to give it like an antiqued look around that center of the corset. And so that is Goleta. A little look at the back. I gave some little I think they're like the hook and I think that's what it's called, the closures, and a snap I think on the corset. Here's a little closer look at the detail work on her face. Just really going for something different. I've done a few Day of the Dead ones, and I just wanted this one to be a little different. So this next one is the nun from American Horror Story, if you're familiar with that TV show. This was on one of the seasons, 1 or 2 seasons ago, and I think it was like Asylum, maybe. I'm really kind of out of the loop on American Horror Story. I watch it and I like it, but I'm not like a huge fan. But this character really creeped me out, so I thought, let me just go ahead and step out of my comfort zone and make one of these. So, and I kind of, it's funny because she creeped me out on the show, but I really liked this doll in the dress that I made. She seemed really cute to me when it was done. So I just made her a little hobbit, like a nun hobbit, out of some fabric. I think this fabric was actually like a tablecloth or something that I had bought. It was really nice cotton or linen fabric that I got some fabric from Tuesday Morning, I believe. And it was just the kind of texture I was looking for. So her habit is attached to the like hood area that's connects under her chin with a snap. And then her collar on the dress snaps in the back. And then I just gave her some bell sleeves and a very simple dress. There I'm showing the back closure. And I used a similar pattern. Well, I don't use a pattern, but I actually cut everything really freehand. But once I did this, I was like, okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do a Princess Leia. So then I used this kind of dress, just longer, for my Princess Leia doll. So it's very similar. And that one will be in my summer collection 2017. So the next set of videos I'll be doing when I'm walking through the dolls, she should be in that one. Oh, I forgot the eyes. I used sort of like a gel. Oh, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a sort of an enamel gel product I'll put it down in the description box, but it just really does these tears really well. It was like a black sort of paint, but it's more like thick, sort of like the scribbles or the fabric paint. It's kind of like that, but it's not meant for fabric. And I had given her a regular face-up. It actually took me a lot longer to paint her face than you would have expected, being that it was just white. But I had to be really cautious about every little line, so you know, couldn't erase a lot. And I gave her a lot of pink highlights and low lights, and just every little line had to be perfect. Okay, so next up is my Michonne. So Michonne was made with a Justine Dancer Ever After High, and I started out by rooting her with alpaca yarn. I used blacks and like a chocolate brown color. And how I got the dreadlocks, I used a felching tool, and it took forever. If I had to do it again, I probably would be a little more to scale with the size of the dreadlocks and make them just slightly smaller, but that would have taken me, literally, this took me hours. Probably just to do the hair, I probably spent like 10 hours felching every little piece. Took a very long time, but I was happy with the turnout. Like I said, if I had to do it again, I'd make them just a little bit smaller. I like everything with these dolls to be to scale. And I feel that that's a little bit thicker than I would have liked. So I made her sword out of polymer clay, and I made a little, I can't remember what it's called, the you know, the little thing on her back that you put the sword in. And I know it's a katana. I'm probably naming everything wrong, but yeah, that's the katana. And I made a little backpack with some like vinyl fabric. I used some faux leather for her vest, and I actually used printable fabric for the bandana. I couldn't find a fabric that was that kind of southwestern pattern that she had in the first season of Walking Dead. And that's where this character comes from, by the way, if you're not familiar. So I used, like I said, printable fabric, and then cut it out and then tied it around her head. And then for the shirt, this is actually like the second shirt that I made for her. The first one wasn't the right shade of pink, but it's just like a little tank top. And then I made her some fingerless gloves. And her pants were made out of, and actually a set of napkins. I use a lot of like repurposed things. I don't use used products or used materials, but I will purchase like napkins or a shirt or something particularly for the fabric. And that's what I did here with the pants. I used napkins that were just the right texture, thickness, and color that I was looking for. And so I just made them into some, you know, kind of cargo-like pants. And her boots are Monster High or Ever After High, I'm not sure, but I repainted those. And I guess that's about it. Here's a closer look at her face up. So this next doll is Lydia from Beetlejuice. I took a couple of liberties with her outfit and hair because this particular outfit that she wears in the movie, she doesn't have the style of hair, but these were the pieces that really stood out to me about her character that really spoke Lydia. So I really wanted to do that hairstyle, but I also wanted to do this outfit, so I did them both. So the hair, I just used some black alpaca yarn, and I actually cut it several times. I was trying to get it just the right length. I cut it, was happy with it, took photos of her, and then looking at the photos realized it was too long. So I think I was kind of afraid to cut it down super short, but finally got it to the right height. And it may have actually needed to be a little bit shorter on top there, but I'm okay with it. The doll I used was an Ever After High, oh, what was it? Not a Blondie Locks, but an Apple White. And I used some cotton black fabric for her jacket, and I made the little emblem on it like she has in the show. And then the skirt, I just used some tartan or plaid ribbon, and using an iron, I just made the creases, or what are they called, pleats in that. And then I used like a sort of like a curtain fabric for the skirt underneath. So I wanted it to be kind of like a taffeta fabric, and that's what I did there. And I made a little polymer clay camera. Here's a little closer look at her face up. I was particularly happy with how her eyes turned out. I gave her sort of a confused kind of look. I don't know what you would call it, but it was an expression I was really looking for, and then I ended up being happy with. And the last doll in this collection is this Emily from Corpse Bride. I made her using two dolls, actually. The doll that I used for the base doll mainly was the Goleta Yelps, and then her arm, one of her arms and one of her legs were from a Goleta doll. And I have her in kind of an awkward pose here. I wish I didn't, and you can see it a little bit better, but the hair I used sort of a mix of blue, light blues, dark blues. It's a little different than the character in the show, but I like to take some artistic liberty with what I come out with my dolls. And I made the dress and veil out of some, I think it's like a maybe organza. I guess it's sort of softer than organza. It's like a faux silk. And I did some ink dyeing and then heat set it, and what the heat setting does is it made it a little crispy and also sets the ink. And then I used some like enamel dot sort of liquid for the detail around the edges. I've seen other versions of this using the same doll, and there's been some beautiful ones out there, and it was really a tall order for me to do something that was that did justice to some of the others I've seen. But I guess I'm satisfied. Under the skirt, I used a little bit of tulle and used a heat tool to kind of heat it up and make it a little crunchy, little crisp and crunchy, so it just gave it some texture and just that feel that it wasn't just hanging. It gives it a little puffiness underneath also. I did some all over blushing with the blue colors. I did some airbrushing and then just like sponging, sort of texturizing around the joints, giving her like a decaying look. Her corset area is made with some vinyl, and then I laid over some lace and using fabric glue to kind of make it a little glossy looking. And then I cut out a hole right where her rib cage is. And if you actually take the dress off, then there's like a hole that I painted in her stomach to show her rib cage, so you can see that through the corset. Also did the same to her jaw, like in the movie you can see through her cheek to see like her teeth because she is like decaying. And then I gave her some little half gloves and just other details with some fabric for the veil, or the crown at the top of the veil. So that's about it for this collection. Stay tuned for my 2017 summer collection. I'm putting that together for another convention in June. And that series is going to be a sort of mix of pop culture and superheroes. So check that out. If you like this video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And if you aren't already subscribe and click the little bell to be notified of future videos. Any of the dolls that I have currently available are in our Etsy shop, and the link is below. You can also check out my work in progress on Instagram, Facebook, and where I'm at Skeriosities. I'm also on DeviantArt and Facebook. So thank you guys so much for watching, and all your comments and likes and subscribes and shares. You guys are so great and supportive. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks again for watching. Bye.